watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to talk about this breakaway BS that we keep hearing about over and over again. We get threats. Oh, Big Ten and SEC, they're going to break away. They're going to break away. Everybody has all these different definitions of what breakaway is. All right, I'm not going to cover all of them. Just as I take it, I'm going to cover several of them and why this breakaway is a bunch of bull crap. It's speculation from the big media people. That's right, folks. They speculate too. And this is their big wet dream. This is their big speculation. Oh, they're going to break away and do their own thing. Okay. Well, you can kiss my thing on all of that. So, the first part that I'm going to talk about is the breakaway part. And this is the one that really gets the jollies of the big journalists out there. And that is, there's going to be this super league of all like the 30, 40 top brands in all the country, no matter what conference. Number one, you're not going to see the SEC and the Big Ten pillage their own conferences, destroy their own conferences that they've worked decades and decades to build and get to a certain media revenue, a certain value to be the two most valuable conferences. Now you're going to see them rip those apart and then mash all this crap together to make a super league, NFL light, another XFL, if you will. No, they're not going to do that because it's dumb. And these people are way too proud of the traditions and what they have in each conference to tear that up. Not to mention all the lower universities in those conferences. There's a lot of ties beyond football, beyond basketball that binds those schools together and has for a very, very long time. So no, they're not going to do that dumb shit. Another breakaway scenario, and this is one now that the CFP negotiations are in full swing. This is a big one that's been thrown out there, right? That, if the Big Ten and the SEC don't get their way, they're going to break away and they're going to make their own CFP for just them. Just them. On multiple levels, this is stupid. Completely dumb. It's not going to happen. It's a bunch of empty threats. The Big Ten and the SEC both know that's an empty threat. I don't blame them for, coming up there and, trying it. I don't look, I play poker. I like poker. You want to bluff? Bluff. That's what it is. It's a huge bluff. You got a lot of chips in the middle of the table. All right. Takes some sack to make that kind of a bluff, but that's what that is. It's a bluff. People. All right, think about it. ESPN is willing to pay $1.3 billion for the rights to the CFP for 6 years. What happens to that number if it's only two conferences? I know it's the big two. I know it's all the biggest brands. I get that. But it's still only two conferences that are intermixed with this. You shut out the Big 12. You shut out the ACC. You shut out all the G5. Okay? You're shutting out millions of fans in the Big 12, millions of fans in the ACC, and yes, millions of fans when you add together all the G5. You really think ESPN is still going to want to pay $1.3 billion for the rights to that when you're excluding the majority of college football and it's only a playoff between two conferences? You are alienating a shit ton of fans. Big 12 fans won't watch that. Neither will the ACC. Neither will the group of 5 schools watch that crap. Why would they? They've been excluded. You wanted to do your own thing, right? So go do your own thing. Go play your circle jerk over there. But they're not gonna watch this crap. Not if they can't be involved, or at least have the potential to be involved. And ESPN knows this. They know the ratings they could get off of all those great juicy brands and the Big Ten and the SEC, it's not going to have the same weight. They'll have good ratings, but not as good as it could have been if you include everybody. What would you end up making? 8, 9, maybe $1 billion a year? It's going to cost you a lot of money to do that. To exclude all those teams and all those millions of fans. And of course, we all know there'd be lawsuits flying from every freaking angle. All right, this lawsuits up to your ass in both those conferences. And, let's not forget everyone's favorite group, the politicians. That's right, governors, lieutenant governors, all your state legislatures are going to be crawling up your ass. Why? Why is that? Maybe because these aren't just football teams. These are actually schools. The vast majority, if not all of them, get federal and state funding. Who controls those purse strings? Oh, that would be your state legislatures. And so they're gonna just stand by and let these few schools from these two conferences screw everybody else and damage other schools within the same state, other state schools? No. And you can say, well, hold on. USC is a private school, and I'm sure there's other private schools that would be in those two conferences. Yeah. UCLA isn't. That's not a private school. Ohio State's not a private school. Georgia and Alabama, LSU, those aren't private schools. University of Texas, Texas A&M, those aren't private schools. The majority, especially the big schools, the majority of the big schools are public universities. And yes, they have to answer to state legislatures. And in every one of those states, you're going to be hurting ACC, Big 12, Group of 5. I mean, just think here in the state of Texas, all right? You think the Texas legislature is going to be really happy with Texas and A&M bouncing and then screwing, I don't know, Baylor, Texas Tech, UTSA, Rice, Houston, and I'm not even including TCU because it's a private institution. But they won't really like that much. But here in Texas, that'll go over like a fart in a church house. They're not. Repeat, they won't let it happen. They'll tell you all to kiss ass. And I'm sorry, all these state legislatures have every one of these schools by the nutsack. I don't care what conference you're in. All right? It's the way it is. Ask UNC. It just became more difficult for them to leave the ACC. Why? Politicians deemed it so. That's why. Not to mention all the Florida politicians that are climbing up the ACC's ass on behalf of Florida State. So yeah, politicians make things really murky and really bad. And that's bad for any TV contract you're trying to get to do that. So that makes it even more impossible to break away. And there's one more form of breakaway people have talked about, and that would be the Power Four. Not just the Big Ten, not just the SEC, but also the ACC and the Big 12. All of them together breaking away to do their own thing. Still, you're going to have lawsuits out the ass. Still, you're going to have problems with politicians trying to make that work. You may be able to talk ESPN or maybe other media outlets that are fine to sacrifice a few million G5 fans for that. So maybe not as much, they won't be worried as much about the viewership, but they will be worried about lawsuits. They will be worried about politicians who are still going to uphold the rights of G5 schools that are in all of these states. And they're going to make it really difficult for that type of breakaway. And it's just not smart. And again, if you leave out all the G5s, does the 1.3 million still, 1.3 billion, will that still stand for a 12-team playoff? Or are they going to knock that down a few pegs since you want to get a little more exclusive? People keep thinking, well, if there's less people involved, then the money goes up. No, it doesn't. It doesn't just go up because you got less eyeballs, because you got less teams. You're excluding all these people. No, it doesn't work like that. Just doesn't. So I just find it funny whenever I see people talking like that. Well, I mean, hey, they can just break away. You better give them what they want. No. Tell them to go break away. All right, and let's just say, the Big Ten and the SEC just happen to be able to do that. And I'm just talking about this hypothetical where it's just them two breaking away. All right, let's say this hypothetical that they're able to defeat any kind of lawsuit. Let's say they pay off all the politicians and the politicians let them do it. All right, and they're able to talk ESPN and they're paying them top dollar to do it. Okay. Well, what happens then? I mean, what can the Big 12 and the ACC and the Group of Five do? You can exclude those two conferences, period. You boycott them. You never play them in the regular season. You don't get a chance to play them in the postseason. Why are we playing them in the regular season? You want to go do your own thing? Do your own thing. Don't play them. Don't play them at all. NCAA tournament, you're out of that shit. You think the Big 12 would have any problem boycotting the shit out of those two conferences in basketball? I think not. You boycott them in everything. None of those conferences would play you again. Period. They're not going to help you be successful. You want to do your own thing? Do it all yourself. Football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, softball, Olympic sports, track and field, you name it, you got it. By yourself. That's what all these other conferences can do to you. And that makes pretty much everything with those two conferences pretty much impossible. It's not like all these other schools and all these other conferences don't have any leverage as well. They absolutely do. Now, do they have the biggest seats at the table? Yes, they do. They have the biggest voices? Yes, they do. But remember, one guy, Kurt Scholes, is essentially shutting their shit down right now. All right, he's not willing to play ball with them. You're not going to a 5-7 without Kurt Scholes of Washington State. Not of Alabama, not of Washington, not of USC or Ohio State or Texas or Oklahoma or A&M or Georgia. No. Of little old Washington State, way the hell up there in the northwest of the country. He is shutting down the Big Ten, shutting down the SEC, shutting down everybody. Because he's got a little leverage on them. It ain't shit they can do. So you see that. And you have to realize the Big 12 has leverage. So does the ACC. So does the Group of Five. Especially when it comes to the CFP. Especially when it comes to college sports in general. It ain't just two conferences. Those two conferences just make the most money. Those two conferences don't have more rights than everybody else. I'm sorry, they just don't. So, if you think that's what constitutes breakaway, fine. You think it's going to happen? Okay, I would love to see him try. And I've made a video like this before about the Super League and how I think that's dumb shit. Well, this whole breakaway thing is essentially the same thing. Dumb shit. And it ain't going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not. So, people need to get that out of their head. And look, I don't blame Sankey or Petiti if they're trying to create some leverage for themselves. They should. By the way, they already have plenty of leverage. They already have plenty of stroke. I don't mind them playing hardball. Do whatever you can for your conference. I understand it. Nothing personal. I don't take it personally as a Big 12 fan. I understand what they're doing. But there's only so much they can do. There's only so much power that they actually have. That's the truth that needs to be put out there. They don't have all the power. They don't have all the answers. They may have damn near all the money, but they don't have everything. Anyway, that's all I got on this crap, and I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.